Okay, so I hope that you've watched this series and you've got a little bit of understanding of what's involved in constructing music and constructing scales and constructing chords and constructing, all rhythms and, all the things, that are happening, how, ranges of instruments and the frequencies related and in most of the basic concepts, even a little bit of notation, the basics of it, because I was trying to put this together so that it would cover most of the basics, but it would go through it in a way that, you could dig into it as deep as you think you might need to for what type of work you're doing or what type of theory, how much theory you think you might need. Some people will have absolutely no theory, and they'll pick up a guitar and start playing the blues, or and understand 1 4 5, and off they go, and I might learn a couple of chords in there, that's it, and they really don't understand anything what's happening in music. And some people will go, completely, headlong into it, and their house, I go to some people's house and it looked like Albert Einstein been in there, trying to figure out formulas for, God knows what, and it's like, okay, well, that's cool, bro. And it's like, whatever, if you're having fun with it and it's what you need to do, what you want to do is the whole thing. But I hope I laid down some of the foundations so that, that at least you have some basic understanding of the fundamental concepts of what's happening. And so that you can take it as far as you think you might need for your production, which I can't say and nobody can say. The only person that's going to be able to say that is you. Are you recording and producing, or are you composing? What kind of music are you composing? How much theory do you think you need? Do you want to mess with how much of it? How much you're going to need of it in the studio so that you can deal with things? Most of this stuff was laid out there to give you a basic understanding so that most things you might be dealing with in the studio and or dealing, with people while you're talking about, any type of music in production, at least you've got some basic foundation of what's going on there so that you can either understand what's happening or give direction. And also when you're actually, working in acoustics and audio engineering and that aspect of the studio, that those concepts can have a much more, you can relate them to the music much more easily, and relate the two together. So when you're watching stuff on this channel, that musically those two things start to come together for you, and it starts to make more sense how they connect musically, with the frequencies and everything else that's happening inside the DAW or the studio that you're working in. So I hope I laid just some basics out there, and that on those things, you're going to, the first thing I always suggest is, on those Wikipedia pages or any pages on the internet, that you follow those links out like a tree and branch out as far as you think you need to. Some people will spend their whole life analyzing. I watched a video the other day about these people analyzing this Bach melody, and it was like, I watched it for an hour and a half, and it was like, and it was pretty cool. It was pretty in depth, but the analysis of what was going on was, the time put into studying it and everything, everything that was put into being able to analyze it was mind boggling, how far they had taken trying to analyze this melody. I mean, it was unbelievable, so, you got to make a decision how far you're going to go with that. But that, at least I hope, laid out some of the basic foundations. The next thing, and direction, so that you have direction to go in if you have questions, that you've got a pretty good understanding of what you're dealing with anyway, so that going to find some more in-depth questions, shouldn't be that difficult for you. The next thing I wanted to talk about is the reality of music and feelings. That and music theory is one of the hugest obstacles I ran into and I've seen everybody run into. At what point do you drop the theory and you just let things flow out of you? Now, there's two aspects of that. You doing yourself in compositions and how you're dealing with music, and how you're dealing with other people. So that some people that you might be working with and producing or recording, mixing, mastering, that that it's very theoretical, and some of them there ain't no damn theory going on hardly at all. You're and I no disrespect to anybody or trying to pump up anybody, but there's these huge gaps that can happen when you're working with music. And, for you to have some understanding of that theory and understand, there's times where the theory just gets pushed off to the side and you just let things flow. And the people you're working with are doing the same thing. But a basic understanding of the concepts is very helpful when you get stuck, or to help you move forward, to help other people move through their production and their compositions, and or your own stuff that you're working on, and also to have it related, what's going on in the audio engineering and how that can relate directly to the actual music theory, harmonics, and octaves and frequency ranges and how they're put together, basic waveforms, and how they're put together with different intervals, and to understand that a little bit better can really help you understand what's going on with everything going on there to begin with. So I hope that opened up those doors and that I addressed some of those situations so that it can help you in all those situations, and you'll take it as far as you think you'll need. You may get done with that and you're good to go. You got all the night, you're off, and you might not. You might dig for the next 5 years, and I might see you on a video studying Beethoven and Bach and be like, there's that dude that watched my video, signed up for my channel. I don't know, wherever it takes you, wherever it takes you is cool because it's music and it's all about the theory being interconnected with the feelings, your mind and your heart, getting connected, somehow, throughout the production, and neither one of them should completely take over. You should have some understanding of both, and that both of them are very productive tools and to help you move forward and help the people you're moving forward. But sometimes it can be very technical in the studio and just understand what the hell's going on. So that can be very simple. The last thing I wanted to talk about that I didn't talk about at all was chord progressions and melody progressions. When you hear somebody talk about chord progressions and melody progressions, I studied that for quite a while and went, basically bonkers, because I came to the understanding that there was no really way to formulate that. It came down to the same kind of thing as I was studying, different musical forms and different structures, that it just got totally out of hand. It stopped even seeming like music anymore, and it was like, and it really got there. But basic understanding of, melody progressions and chord progressions is, what things have worked and what things worked in making them, like a rhythm. You have a rhythm that you've set up and for so many measures, a chord progression can work the same way. You've got a certain set amount of chords, the 1, 4, 5, that everybody talks about, that everybody's familiar with, the first interval, the fourth interval, and the fifth interval, and and different, combinations of that and structures of that, chord progressions. That's a real basic thing. So, real basic chord progressions, I suggest you look into, and you can take that as far as you want, same as melody. It's along the same lines. But a basic understanding of that, just meaning that it's, a structure to work from, so that basically almost all music theory, in my humble opinion, is for you to have a basic structure to work from, and let your mind and your heart work together. And sometimes it'll just flow off wherever, and sometimes it won't. Sometimes it'll stay fairly structured, but it's always a structure to help you get going and a structure to fall back on, so that if you get too lost out into outer space in your production, and you feel like you're Frank Zappa on 3 hits of acid, and it's time to come back into some kind of structure, or you're doing jazz and you've just gone way out too far, that those structures and that theory can really help you to either take off or come back into some kind of structure, so you don't get too lost out in just your feelings, letting things flow all over the place. So I hoped in this series that you understood what it was about, why I put it on there, and for the basic understanding, and also as a tool for you to branch out like a tree, and you've basically got some basic knowledge to really branch out. There's a lot of subjects and a lot of things that I didn't address in music theory. I mean, lots. Music theory can be very complex. There's a lot of things I didn't address because of this channel is basically set up for music production, and things dealing with acoustics and audio engineering and music production as far as the studio is concerned. So this is not a music theory channel. that we talk about music and composition all day, but those aspects are very much related to what's happening in those areas. And I hope that this helps you to see that and to better understand that. And as you understand those things, that you're better able to put that together, what that means. So you're better able to help yourself, you're better able to help people you might be working with, and you're better able to understand some of the concepts that might not be directly in the way you're seeing it directly related to music, but things like, the harmonics and things like waveforms, and, and the interval composition of them. That those basic understandings, as that branches out and as you understand that, can really deepen your understanding of what's happening while you're working, with audio, with acoustics, with audio engineering, and with music in your productions. So I very much hope you enjoyed this series, and I hope that you got something from it, and I hope that you broaden your knowledge with what you've seen here, and I hope it gives you a little bit of a foundation to work out from, to come to some understanding of what you're going to need for what you're trying to do, and to really understand that it is that simple. Some people will not study theory and hardly know nothing about it, and some people are just, you can sit around and talk to them about music theory all day long, and sometimes not have any idea what they're talking about. You're like, what mathematical equation, and it's like, well, it works like this, you're going to take that as far as you want, but there's 2 + 2, a little bit of 4 × 4, and maybe a little bit of 6 divided by 7, and you'll figure out whether you want to work it out to an algebraic trigonometric equation, or calculus, or whatever, however far you're going to take it. So that it was the hope in this series. So I hope you enjoyed the series. I hope it helped a lot. And I hope you give me some feedback about, that it did help you. I sure would like to hear that, it was some kind of revelation, and I can hear a song from you, or a production you've done, or something you've done that was like, well, I didn't, whatever, does that make sense? That's what it's all about. So anyway, peace, hope, love, and I hope you enjoyed the series, and I hope you have a little bit better understanding of music theory and what all is involved in it. Peace, hope, love.